Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, the Dinner in Hell band is good tonight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're killing it. Studio audience full of beautiful, beautiful people.
Top band in this room. Hands down.
Definitely the top band in this room. Unless...
Most attractive audience in this room.
Is it possible that the Gin Blossoms are in the audience today?
No, they're playing some corporate... I don't know, stupid office party.
Okay, that's what I thought. And the Dinner in Hell band's definitely the best then. We can give them that title.
Goo Goo Dolls. Wow. You caught me off guard with that one. 90s.
All right, so here, welcome back for another exciting edition of the Dinner in Hell podcast, where two amateur historians are going to talk about history's atrocious underbelly. I am one of those amateur historians, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, your friend and mine, the real Ron Maiden.
Thank you, Brad. Good to be here. Good to be back. Love being in the studio in front of these people. Today, our episode, we will be going back to 790 AD, 800 AD, and talk about, we'll be in the northern hemisphere for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about Vikings today, and specifically the Viking raid in 793 AD on the monastery and religious community of Lindisfarne Island off the northeast coast of England, what at the time was the country of Northumbria. You know, I can think of some fucked up things Vikings did. Like, there was this one very famous Viking who's really popular.
Yeah.
One of the best, too.
Does he have a comic book? Is it Thor?
No, not him.
Okay.
But we'll talk about Thor a little bit later. We can bring him back up a little bit later. But
Give me some more hints.
Well, he was a famous warrior, but it was quite scandalous, actually. In between battles, in the off season of the battles, if you will.
Okay.
He had a son, and he beat the living hell out of him with a stick.
Wait a second. Are you talking about modern day Vikings, or are we still?
Yeah, Minnesota Vikings. I'm talking about Adrian Peterson,
the running back.
Yes.
Okay. No, we. I thought you got the notes.
Oh.
You're gonna have to open up your screen. It's in pink under Ron M.
Okay. Oh, here we go. No, we're talking about the Scandinavian cultures from about 1,200 years ago. Okay, different Vikings. I just gotta scratch out what I had ready for the show.
Yeah,
and
this isn't about football teams.
Yeah. All right, we'll use these notes. All right, so like we said, we're going to be talking about this Viking raid, and we should probably do a little bit of background about what that part of the world was like during that period of time. And the two major players in this are going to be two cultures. The culture of England, or Britain more specifically, and the cultures of the people who lived in Scandinavia at this time. I'm not calling them all Vikings because the word Vikings refers specifically to the raiders. That's like what they are, not the whole culture.
So, what are Vikings? What does that belong to?
Well, I suppose.
Oh, the different tribes. Okay.
Well, I'll use the term that the British used for them. Then they called them the Northmen, or Norsemen, which I suppose is good enough.
So Vikings is just the title of that class of people that belong to many different tribes.
Yes.
So yeah.
And England was split up into a lot of different tribes at this point in time too.
But England had their own name for their own people, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have Vikings. Vikings was a Scandinavian name.
Yeah, it's actually the Norse word for them.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the Norwegian word today for Viking is like vikingar. Like it's like the same word.
I knew that. I mean, shoot.
Yeah, and England was actually split up into 7 different kingdoms: Northumbria, Mercia, East Anglia, Essex, Kent, Sussex, and Wessex. They'd been Christianizing for about 200 years, and the last pagan king, a king of Northumbria, died in 686 AD. Now, because the kingdoms were significantly Christian, and so was continental Europe by this point in time, they didn't really think there was a reason to defend their churches or religious institutions.
Would they just feel like everyone was just Christian?
Yeah. And they'd been sending missionaries up north into Denmark and Sweden and Norway, which is where most of these Vikings were coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why they wouldn't expect anyone that they were going to go to war with would have any interest in destroying a Catholic church.
Yeah, like it's a place of peace.
Mm-hmm.
Holy place.
Yeah, so everyone would have thought it was sanctified,
right.
But they hadn't run into these Vikings yet up until this point in time. The Vikings...
Now, what was the name of this place?
Lindisfarne.
Did you already mention the name? Did you already say Lindisfarne?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was told, or I read that Lindisfarne was like one of the holiest places. Did you already say that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was like a very holy.
Yeah, it was considered by most of the people to be the holiest place on the British Islands by Christians. It housed a very famous saint, the Bishop of Northumbria, Saint Cuthbert. Yeah, so it was considered a very holy place by Christians. So yeah, they didn't think anybody would mess with it.
Right.
The other reason that they were sort of built very remotely is that they didn't want them to be corrupted by the culture at large, which the aristocracy and the church hierarchy considered low and sort of beneath them.
Yeah.
This is another factor that would not work out for the people at Lindisfarne.
Because
there was nobody around to defend it.
Yeah.
When the unaccounted for pagans who didn't think the church was sacred, didn't care about it, came calling.
Like, oh, you guys... Yeah.
So the Vikings were the seafaring raiders, and they were mainly from the countries of Norwin. Fucking A. They were mainly from the countries of Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Though this culture did span all across Scandinavia.
Yeah. Finland.
Yeah, we'll get to a very famous fucking shit. We'll get to a very famous Icelandic man a little bit later on who's looked over too often by history.
Brad's got a bone to pick with history.
Yeah, and a lot of times, even though the Vikings are only talked about as sort of like a barbarian horde of unwashed heathens, which, to be fair, they definitely were, that's not all they were.
I heard that they were like well groomed of all the barbarian people.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were like they bathed the most frequently than any other.
Yeah,
culture.
The Scandinavian people were considered by other Europeans as intensely vain because they bathed once a week.
Yeah. So
that means they were bathing less often than that.
You mean the other people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which and less often enough that they thought it was scandalous that they were taking baths every week, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. And it's a little warning strike against time travel, I think.
Why?
Because you might think, like, you know what? It might be fun to go check out London in, like, the 1300s. Or, guess what? It probably isn't going to be fun. It's probably going to be so fucking gross you wouldn't even be able to handle it for like 5 minutes.
That's why the bride carries the bouquet of flowers down when she's married to cover up the smell, because their bodies stink so much. So the flowers are supposed to overpower the body odor.
Here on Dinner in Hell, we'll give you advice on what to do, which, to be honest, is usually kill yourself if you get sent back in time. But we'll also tell you why going back in time would be a dog shit idea.
Yeah, one of our main things about going back in time is to go back in time and go out in the woods and just be alone. That's a big thing. That's our one thing we.
Yeah, that's the plan A.
Yeah, you want to stick to yourself in the woods, away from anybody.
Yeah, and everything that happened before now sucks. Like when you're talking to like your grandma or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, back in my day, it was so much better." She is lying her ass off. It was dog shit back then. I guarantee it. Compared to now.
Think about what you watched on TV when you were homesick from school. Like, The Price is Right. Like, there was nothing on. Well, you probably had cable at your age. But for
I did.
For me, it was like Mr. Dress Up.
Oh, that sucks.
Sesame Street. And then it was like Price is Right. And then it was soap operas until like 3.
Yeah, I'd fucking watch like HBO.
Yeah, not me. I didn't have cable until like senior year of high school. It sucked. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah. Well, we survived.
You made it through. Yeah. England, not super together. 7 different kingdoms, and the Scandinavia was exactly the same way, except they were a little bit more cohesive. They had a lot of interests aligned.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about Norway alone, Norway was split up into 30 small kingdoms.
Right next to each other, living in peace, helping each other out. Got tips on fishing. I got some tips on growing grapes. Like, we could share ideas.
Yeah, I think they got along pretty well.
Growing grapes.
Well, yeah, I don't know about grapes.
North. What do you grow in the north? Apples?
Well, I mean, most of like Sweden's climate's pretty similar to here. I mean, if you start going up in their country, though, once you cross the Arctic Circle, it gets real different. Yeah, but like for whatever reason, I have a bunch of different countries around the world in like the weather app on my phone. So like if it's cold as shit here, I'll scroll over and I'll be like, it's like that fucking same temperature in Sweden right now.
We have the weather for a city or a location called Owen Island, and every single day on Owen Island it's freaking thunderstorm and lightning.
Where is this place?
I don't know. It's like it's like by Philippines or something. I don't know. But every for some reason every time like we slide our thumb over to see what's going on Owen Island, it's like
just thunderstorm.
Yeah, every day. Yeah, every day. It's crazy.
God, that would have to get stressful after a while.
It's like sounds like where King Kong lives.
Yeah, maybe it fucking is. Has anybody checked this place out?
You go there and it's the shape of a skull. You fly over it. It's the shape of a skull. Anyways, yeah. Vikings.
Yeah, but in Denmark, they were a little bit more united than they were throughout the rest of Scandinavia. And there's a few reasons why this may have happened, but around 790, 800 AD, they started expanding. They started moving out. They started taking long-ass trips out of Scandinavia and causing a whole lot of ruckus, invading a whole lot of places. But we'll catch back up with that a little bit later. See, aside from being excellent in at violence and thievery, there was a lot of kind of interesting stuff about the Viking culture or the Norse culture. They were accomplished poets. They were great artists. They were incredible weapons makers. They were athletes too. probably the most impressive thing about them was how well they were able to navigate and sail. Some navigation charts that they've found that were from the Viking Age, from around this time, were within 2 to 4% accuracy of modern satellite instruments.
So were we talking like star charts?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got to be set to certain days of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because the certain times of the night, the stars move.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how they work.
Yeah.
But like when you like move them and they're complex things. But theirs were so precise. They were able to accomplish some pretty incredible things.
Yeah. It's pretty advanced for that time.
Yeah.
We're talking 800 AD.
Mm-hmm. They were bright people. They weren't like mindless savages.
Yeah.
But they were also pagan. They were
okay.
one of the kind of the later big pagan strongholds.
I don't have a problem with that. That's fine.
Yeah, many gods like Odin,
Trees.
talking, walking trees.
Tree beards, like tree beard, orcs. Sorry.
It's funny It's funny that you bring up the Lord of the Rings though, because that's where most of it comes from. Is from Norse mythology. That's where Tolkien got most of it.
Like the land of the ice and the snow. To the land of the ice and snow. Led Zeppelin. That they talk about Tolkien stuff in that song.
Yeah. Well, but like elves and dwarves they exist within the Norse mythology.
Do they wrestle?
Not that I'm aware of. But there's a lot of wrestling going on back then.
Wrestling, dwarf wrestling extravaganzas.
I guarantee you we're going to have episodes that's just fucked up mythology. So there's going to be a lot of this that we'll be able to come back later. But I know there's like Thor wrestles.
If you want to hear...
He's a wrestler.
If you want to hear a mythology topic, shoot us a tweet. Get our address at the end of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll cover stuff. Yeah, some other goddesses. Freya, who was a love goddess, like a fertility goddess.
So, run down the list of the gods again, because we went on and on, like right in the middle, right? So there's Thor.
Yeah, so you have Thor, who is the son of Odin. Odin is the chief god. So
okay.
he's like the top boss.
Okay.
He's got a lot of stuff that is older than, but seems awful Christian. Like Odin, for example, the like origin story of how the Norse peoples learned to write, and they use runes. I mean, if you saw them, you'd know what they were. Maybe I'll throw some in the show notes so you can get an idea what they looked like. But they used runes to write, and the way humanity discovered the runes, it was said, is that Odin stabbed himself with his magic spear into a tree and hung there for days. And by making the sacrifice of himself is how humanity gained the knowledge of the runes. So like God sacrificing himself.
Oh.
Like God sacrificing his son, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Runes are just a different...
They're symbols.
Yeah.
Like for...
Yeah, they're like letters.
Oh, an alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
Symbols, yes.
Yeah.
Like hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And but they also have individual meaning, like in their like magical tradition, like their religious sort of mysticism. Like runes can be read like tarot cards, sort of, today. People do it now. Yeah.
Don't you have a tattoo?
We're not talking about that.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have Odin,
Mm-hmm.
Thor, son of Odin.
Yeah, Thor's like
And
the
then-
biggest badass of all.
And he's, yeah, right. And now then we have Loki
Yeah,
Who is-
he's the trickster.
with a gold horns helmet.
I've seen him drawn any number of ways.
Just kidding. Right, there is no Loki, right? That's only in Marvel.
No, there's definitely a Loki.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
There's too many to sit here and name them.
so I
actually.
thought-
yeah, there's
oh.
like just boatloads of them.
I thought there was like 6. You're just naming a few.
Yeah, there's giants. There's like a whole tree of life thing. There's like many different heavens. Like if you're a Viking and you die in battle, then you go up to Odin's heaven. And all you do every day is just sit and eat like suckling pig, hammering down mead, and then every single day you just go out and fight each other with weapons outside. That's every single day.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's if you die in battle as a Viking, the Valkyries come and get you, and they take you to Valhalla. That's Odin's heaven, and then they have this fucking huge like end of the world cataclysmic battle between all these gods and like ancient giant creatures and shit. It's fucking awesome, but it definitely deserves its own episode.
And then they wake up the next day and they do it again. Like it's
the end of the world thing only happens once.
Oh.
You fucking hang out and party in Valhalla until then. Then you try to help, but I mean, you're talking about fighting snakes that are as big as the entire planet and shit like that. It's fucking crazy.
Okay.
There's a reason so much like heavy metal is based on Viking stuff, because it's fucking insane like that. It's epic. It's huge. It's
okay.
Yeah, it'll have to get its own episode. But suffice it to say, it's definitely comparable to the stuff you're more familiar with, like the Greek pantheon, the Roman mythology. It's similar. Yeah, it's up there in terms of scale. Yeah, there's also just a massive quantity of very high quality poems. They call these Eddas from the Norse culture. I've got
name one. Oh yeah, nice fucking out, bro. It smells awesome, Mom. This is fuck. I just can't even see. What the fuck is the cloud near of stink? My eyes are burning. I just fucking around. Oh shit! And the audience
that's
going.
That's that raw mutton leg I've been eating before every show.
If the audience fucking like, holy shit!
Yeah, I try to eat a period correct diet before every show we record. So
we eat gyro before we start.
Lots of garlic.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right, Mom.
All right, so I've actually got a couple of books of the poems. There's two Eddas. They call it the Poetic Edda, which reads sort of like the Bible, like it's in verse. And then there's a prose Edda that was put together of from an Icelander later on. That's like a translation of it. It's pretty interesting stuff, but most of it's religious for them. So we'll probably cover those more directly in our fucked up Norse mythology episode.
Yeah.
You know, we've been saying some good stuff about the Vikings, but their society was pretty fucked. They had, it was a slave society. So pretty much all of the work that was being done by slaves in their culture. Which, I mean, it's not like that hasn't happened elsewhere, but fuck them for it. It's shitty.
We mentioned slavery a couple episodes back. The New Orleans Nightmare, if you haven't heard it yet. Mm-hmm. That was our first mention of slavery and the hardships of it.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good to do.
So here we are learning. Many people probably didn't know this, but yeah, Vikings had frickin' slaves, you guys.
Yeah, they the lowest class in Norse society were the thralls, and these were the slaves. They did all the work. They did the bulk of like the hard labor on the farming. They did all the construction. They did all the building, all that stuff. No money for it. Just like shelter and enough food to survive.
I imagine the Viking ships with the paddles on the sides.
Oh, long ships.
Gee, I wonder who's paddling those ships. The strong slaves. Like, get down there, son.
Well, I don't know. I think it may have been the raiders themselves that did it. Yeah, because most of the time they were sailing though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I could be wrong. I'm sometimes wrong.
Yeah, I'm just guessing. I'm just an amateur historian here. I never said anything about being pro. I have not I'm not even considering going pro.
Yeah, me
I'm
neither.
just gonna ride this amateur train.
It's going pretty well so far.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, we got freaking. It's like we're getting these freaking Twitter followers like all the time. It's like,
Well, you know, plus
shocking.
if we go pro, then if they add history podcasts to the Olympics, we won't be able to participate.
That's right.
And we would like to do battle for our country against other history podcasts
In an amateur fashion.
in an amateur fashion.
Yeah, we're not saying we're up ready to take on pro ones like Adam Carolla, Kevin Smith. We're not ready for pro.
Yeah,
But
no,
we're
not quite.
You want to point us towards an amateur contest? You let us. You tell us. We'll enter. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, so the next level, the next class in Norse society were the Carls. And Carls...
Carl.
Hey, Carl.
Carl.
I bet that's where that name comes from, though.
Oh,
But a Carl was just like your regular free person. So like they would own small farms. They would own, you know, the blacksmith would be a Carl.
yeah.
The guy who ran the
Feed.
stables and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all Carls.
Yeah, so it was just 3 Carls coming down the road, and I had to stop and said, "Look,
This is
a couple
Carl
Carls like yourself doing out here, anyways."
Yeah, above them were the Jarls, and that was the aristocracy, like the nobility. They had huge farms and huge estates.
Jarl.
Yeah, they were in more
Jarl got a nice place. Jarl's place is nicer than mine. I'm just a Carl down here with my simple life of a Carlman. Jarl, have a nice day now.
Yeah, I'll come back here. You hear?
Jarl. You gotta use that R.
Jarl.
Yeah.
So the Jarls are the aristocracy, and a more familiar feudal system. Those are like your dukes and your archdukes and shit like that. Dig?
Got it.
Cool.
I was wondering about dukes. I'll ask you after
They were in charge. They formed like the lower levels of government, and they were rich and they were dicks to everybody else. And what plays into something we kind of touched on our Myrmit episode, when a Jarl would die, sometimes they would just kill all of his thralls, all of his slaves, and they'd bury them all together in a big burial mound. Super dick move, right?
Like, why not just freaking divide the slaves up to the townspeople to have as their own slaves? Like,
Yeah, or fucking let them go.
Yeah.
Or make them Carls.
Lucky you.
Yeah,
Your
do something good when you die.
Lucky you. Jarl's dead.
Jarls are now Carls now.
Yeah. Jarls.
Jarls and Carls.
The Jarls died, making the thralls Carls.
And y'all,
You would think.
y'all thralls are now Carls because the Jarl died. Jarl. Oh my God.
Are you guys following this? I hope so. Just look in the notes if you have questions.
Yeah, another really fucked up thing that was common to the Norse culture is, you know how shitty dog fights are?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that, except with horses.
What?
Yeah, what they would do is they would take a couple of mares that were in heat, and they'd put them in a small pen.
Female?
Yeah. And then they would let in the stallions, the male horses, into a larger pen around that. So they couldn't get to the mares, but they're trying to compete. So then, for entertainment, the Norse people would watch the two horses battle to the death. They'd gamble on it. Probably.
Dude, can you imagine me like, I got $50 on the zebra. Freaking zebra's like bouncing around.
Yeah, that
Teeth
was.
are out.
Yeah.
Zebras are kind of small though compared to American size American horse.
Yeah, or like what are those big ass ones, like the beer ones, the Budweiser ones? Clydesdales. Draft horses, fucking like 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also invented probably what was an ancestor of fucking hockey. It was played on ice, and it was a ball, though, played with sticks. And they said this game was also exceptionally bloody. Very popular to spectate, and everybody loved it, but people got hurt really badly and all the time.
Okay, what do you think they made the ball out of? It's not like they had plastics down there. It was probably a wooden ball or a stone, but it's probably a wooden ball. And they're whacking this thing, and they're not wearing face shields like in modern day NHL hockey.
That, and they're probably just fucking hammering each other nonstop.
Yeah.
Because they're ancient people. They're brutal.
I don't think they're calling offsides.
High sticking.
Right. They probably just like drowned your ass. Like, oh, I drowned you.
Yeah.
I guess you're out.
Six extra points
Sub
for Ragnar's team.
Sub, we got a dead drowned. He's drowned.
Yeah, so let's talk about the raid that kicked off the Viking Age, that really got it into gear.
The raid of Lindisfarne.
Yeah, we talked about the town, and let's go back there. Let's go back in time.
Let's have the Bill and Ted guitar lick take us back in time. Yeah.
All right, so it's June 8th, 793 AD.
After death.
The sun's coming up, starting of a new day in this small, peaceful, religious town. Everything in this town is based around the religious aspect, the monastery and the church in the center of everything.
Seabirds in the distance.
Mm-hmm. And the town is beginning to bustle, to come to life.
Yeah.
The people who farm are out working in their fields. The people are tending the horses, the animals. They're opening up their shops. They're starting to distribute. They're starting to travel from place to place. The monks are up and about their business.
Yep.
Copying old manuscripts or brewing beer, maybe.
Vikings are sharpening their axes.
Yeah, so
bathing.
So the town, it's not huge. It's but it has to be self-sufficient. So I couldn't find any information whatsoever on how many people were there at the time.
Right.
But for a self-sufficient town, it's got to be a pretty high number of people. Definitely, I would say more than 500, would you think? Somewhere around 500 is what I was kind of guessing at.
I would say 500. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So it's a town of 500 people going about their daily business.
You need leather people, you need blacksmiths, you need farmers, all kinds of farmers, you need fishermen.
Yeah, there's all kinds of people around. So it's just got to be a decent-sized, kind of small settlement to function. But off the north coast, the northeast coast, looking out towards the sea, 3 sails start approaching.
In the distance, on the horizon. What is that? 3 ships. They approach.
And fast.
Well, they could be just coming in this way, maybe because of the current, but there is a trading port off there to the side. I'm sure they're just going to make a turn and go to the trading port, right? Like, because why would they be coming here? They never do.
Yeah, and then they're getting closer and closer, and they're not turning.
Actually, they're not even slowing down.
Yeah, they're going incredibly fast.
What is this?
And before you know it, they've rammed up onto the beach. They've beached themselves.
A crash onto the shore, water and sand and yelling of crowds of men.
And men jump out, speaking a language you don't understand.
Ah.
And they're
speaking Scandinavian tongue.
Old Norse.
Norse tongue.
And they're big compared to you.
And they smell frickin' beautiful because they all took their pre-battle bath.
Like lavender or patchouli.
Yeah. Whale oil.
Lemon zest.
I don't know about that. Not a lot of lemon orchards up there in Scandinavia country.
They just exude it because they're that beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, and these guys, most of them have axes.
Sharp, because what I tell you. I'm sorry.
They're sharpening them on boats.
So when I made that comment of the town waking up and hustle and bustling, I said the sound of Vikings sharpening their axes.
Mm-hmm.
My dumb ass was confused. They were not Vikings sharpening their axes because it was the Britain country.
Yeah, but maybe you could hear them on the boat.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of them were doing it on the boat. I'm going to give you that one. We're going to count that as a historical fact.
I'm amateur. That's all I can say.
Well, so these guys, most of them had axes. A few would have had swords. The wealthier among them might have been carrying swords. They were kind of a status symbol.
Spears.
They all had spears.
That's my go-to.
All of them would have had a helmet. Now, the Viking helmet does not and never did in any fashion have horns on it. That's like a thing that I'm assuming came with Wagner's operas.
Yeah, and like Loki in the Marvel, his helmet's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's probably something out of Wagner too, translated through, like the comic books or whatever.
So difficult to have if you're in like a fight with someone that could hook onto it, catch on and stuff. Like
yeah,
stupid.
It would be bullshit. It would be terrible. It wouldn't be helpful at all to have those on your head.
Remember, I think we were talking about the Gladiator, or they would, one guy would have a net and the other guy would have a helmet with no horns on it, so it wouldn't catch.
Yeah.
Vikings weren't stupid. They're like, we're gonna have no freaking horns. We're catching on to stuff.
Yeah, so it was basically a metal cap, and it also came down to cover the bridge of the nose and out to cover the cheekbones with eye holes cut in. That's a typical Viking helmet. They may have had two-handed axes. Some of them. They may have been quite big. They've found Danish axes that were 18. They had an 18-inch blade.
From top to bottom, or
from the blade top to bottom?
Yeah,
like curved out. That's it.
That's like from your elbow to the tip of your middle finger, or to your hand, or something.
Yeah, some of their battle axes were massive, but probably more common would have been a hand axe with a like a 6 or 7 inch diameter blade on the end. The axes were more common because they were also tools. The same things they were fighting with, they were chopping wood with, and all that kind of stuff. So the wealthier ones would have had chainmail as well as swords, probably. They would have been a little bit better outfitted. Or they could have foreign armor, which was really, really common.
Foreign armor from other armies?
Yeah. Because they'd conquest it and they'd take it home. The Norse people didn't really have money. The economy was sort of based on gift giving. So like when they would trade, this actually caused a lot of problems because the Vikings didn't view it as trade. They viewed it as trading gifts. Okay. They would exchange. I'll give you a present, and then you give me a present. They weren't like buying and selling. They weren't really doing that.
Okay.
So that's how they'd wind up with a lot of foreign arms or armor or people that they had raided.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the most common Viking longships had capacities of about 70 to 80 people. So it's no stretch to say that this may have been 200 Vikings landing on the beach at Lindisfarne.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that the town of Lindisfarne, I mean, put yourself there. Can you imagine that kind of panic when you see that massive of a frightening, like, outsider invading force, and you have no defense?
And what if there was population 500? We're not saying there was, but we just guessed. But if there was 500, that's not 500 fighting adult men.
That's 500 people total.
Women, children, elderly.
Yeah, without and then no training. These definitely wouldn't have been warriors. These were people who lived extremely isolated, insulated lives.
And then here comes an army of half the size of your population that are
experienced fighters,
and they're strong and huge.
Yeah, they stormed the town, and they killed pretty indiscriminately. The way it was reported is they would kill someone and then just completely ignore the person right next to them. Like, both people are like cowering, begging for their lives. They'd kill one and then just like keep on moving. I don't understand why, but that's something that most of the stuff I looked at for this episode mentioned.
No way. Did they do that at other raids too, or just this one?
Yeah,
That's something they did.
Yeah, because the way they looked at it.
Don't forget my face.
Not so much that as, like, if you completely pick a fruit tree completely dry, then it might be dead and you might not be able to come get more back from it later.
Oh, like, yeah, we'll be able to harvest this one later.
Yeah, they were almost like
sheep.
farming these places.
We're not going to kill this sheep because we can keep it alive and shear it once a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they'd come, they'd fuck them up, but they didn't want to kill it completely because they might want to come back in a few years if the people were stupid enough to keep piling gold and silver into a place and not protecting it.
But another reason, too, is to enslave them.
That's true. Some of the people they didn't kill, they just snatched up and took right back to the longships to take back to become new thralls. Because you got two ways to become a thrall. If your parents are both thralls, you're a thrall. Or if they come and just snatch you and take you back there, then you become a thrall.
Now, you say when they would do raids, they would rob and take all the valuables. But didn't they have a creative way of coming up with making bags to carry these valuables?
Absolutely, they did. They came with cloth sacks, and they were just rampaging through the town, taking everything valuable that wasn't nailed down, and probably some stuff that was nailed down, and cramming them into sacks and taking them back to the boats. When they ran out of sacks, they would just either kill a monk or rip one right off of him, his robes, and turn the robes into a sack to carry more shit away with.
And probably his own stuff. Well, if he was a monk, he probably didn't have anything, but...
This was so incredibly shocking for the people in this town, I almost can't imagine it. Because they're living these religious lives in sacred religious places that they think everybody thinks is sacred. So, of course, as soon as the town attacks, I assume most of the people run for the church for, like, sanctuary, sanctuary. But these pagan people did not respect the sanctity of any other religion. They rampaged straight into the religious building, indiscriminately killing people and taking all of the valuables. And the religious buildings, they completely destroyed them. They burned them all to the ground. They didn't burn the whole town to the ground, but like the priory or a monastery and the church, they burned that shit to the ground. They eradicated it.
Man. Salt their fields. Vikings weren't down with salt and fields, were they?
No, that's some Roman shit right there.
They didn't have salt.
Probably not.
Well, maybe
I don't know.
Maybe they did.
I don't know where the fuck salt comes from, really.
Salt some fish and stuff. Probably salt it. And they salt it and keep it preserved. I don't know.
I have no idea. Probably though. I know they eat like disgusting rotten shark. Isn't that up there?
Like
Isn't that Iceland?
Sea salt.
They probably got sea salt.
Yeah, dry it out, evaporate.
Yeah.
You got salt. Put it on your food, and you're good to go. Put on some spuds.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why this attack is incredibly devastating, even beyond the huge loss of life that must have occurred there, is this is still about 400 or so years before the printing press was invented. In these monasteries, one of the monks' main jobs were copying books, making copies of books.
By hand?
By hand.
With a feather?
Yeah. And like have you seen on like antique, real antique books, like how ornate the the calligraphy is? Like they'd spend like a whole day drawing like a giant crazy capital H in the first letter of the book and shit like that. So they lost all of that. And tons of the monks who were talented enough to do that work. So, like, pretty bad. Pretty damaging to lose all of that.
Man.
That's a huge repository of human knowledge. Because, well, in this day and age, as opposed to, say, now. The church was like at the forefront of knowledge and moving things forward. They were progressive in that way. So when they get dinged up, man, they lose all that knowledge from those books and all that skill from the people who died. That's a big step back for that particular corner of the world.
And the Vikings just go back home, unload, and go back out and raid another frickin'...
Yeah, and go trade that shit away to probably people very similar to the ones that they stole it from. Yeah, and there were a few causes that may have sort of instigated this raid, at least in the eyes of the Norse people, or it coaxed them out of their homelands and more than before. Probably they got to a period of time where they were proficient enough boat builders to make this a true reality. That probably plays into it.
Yeah.
They may not have been able to make them good enough for long distance travel or make them enough of them to be a menace until this point in time. But they resented the encroachment of Christian missionaries into their territories. They really didn't like it.
I was going to say, when you were describing them burning the religious buildings down, it sounded pretty religiously motivated to me.
Because a lot of the things that Christians preached were counter to their culture. Like, for example, like they were pretty sexually free.
Pagans?
Yeah, the Norse people. Like, there were priests in some of the temples that had like a third gender. Yeah, like they have all kinds of stuff like that that probably deserves more attention. Maybe we'll throw that into the mythology episode. Yeah, but like, I don't think if you were a gay Viking, like I don't think that was a big deal. Like I don't even think it was like a thing really. Like people just kind of were doing it like the 60s, like free love type scenario.
Duh.
Yeah. But so when you imagine coming in there and people saying like, oh, you can't have any sexual contact till you're married, and if you have sex with if someone's gay, you gotta kill them, and they'd probably be like, oh, fuck off, weirdo.
I'm just thinking of these big, huge Viking gay boat sex party boats, like on the way to the raid. They're like,
oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that under the chainmail they only wore jock straps.
That's just exactly how I imagined. Perfect. I think we all imagined it like that once you said chainmail. Hairy thighs.
Oh man. Yeah, so another possible contributing factor is that they didn't have that much fertile farmland. I mean, most of their territory is north of the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Potatoes? Like,
I don't even know what. I mean, you can't grow shit in, like, tundra. Plants aren't going to grow there. But lower than that, they have a pretty normal climate, normal kind of European climate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can grow stuff in some of their lands, but if their populations are growing, they're going to have to spread out eventually. And bad news for you if you were close to them. Yeah, another cause is they were getting screwed when they were exchanging gifts or trading with the other cultures around them. They were getting continually shafted. So, like, there's some speculation that may have been the impetus for this as well, too. Is they're sick of getting screwed on all these trades, so they just wouldn't say, oh, we'll take it all back from you. Yeah, so that was the raid at Lindisfarne, and that kicks off the Viking Age.
I can't believe the horse fights.
I know, isn't that fucked up?
Just the sound of it.
I'm honestly thankful that in my imagination, I can't imagine how a horse would fight another horse, so it's not giving me any horrible images right now.
By biting it.
Dude, no. You stop. You stop telling me how it would happen, because I don't want to know.
They're a biting breed. They bite. You ever seen the video of the guy?
Oh my God, how long? But horse bites aren't like a tiger bite or something.
They just have these front teeth. and there's nothing here. That's where like the straps go for when you ride it.
Oh, forgive
So
me.
it's just
I'm about to put our first Dinner in Hell content warning right here. Fucking skip 30 seconds ahead if you don't want to hear something really bad about animals.
Can I leave?
Sure. Could you imagine how fucking long it would take a horse to die if it was only from getting bit by another horse?
Yeah.
It'd be like fucking days.
No, they bite each other in the neck and they bite each other in the jugular and stuff. They rip each other's nuts off.
It's got to be kicks, right?
I don't know.
It's got to be.
They would fight to the death?
Yeah.
They're probably freaking shooting arrows at it or something.
I don't think so. I think they just get all fucking crazy when there's like female horses around that are ready to go.
Yeah.
Fucking all right. Welcome back. Yeah, so this raid on Lindisfarne kicked off the Viking Age. It was a massive wave of expansion over all over Northern Europe. I mean, these people wound up everywhere. They took over large portions of sort of the north swath of Europe. They took over most of Britannia. I mean, they made it as far south as Portugal. Vikings made it all the way down to Constantinople in the Byzantine, the Eastern Holy Roman Empire.
I'm down with Portugal. I would totally make the trip. I've been there. It's nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, even I've never have, but
shout out to our Portugal Twitter followers. We just want to say what up to you guys out there in Lisbon, in Porto.
If I could speak Portuguese, I'd say something in Portuguese to you.
I'd be like, obrigado.
That would be a double whammy for our Brazilian Twitter followers.
Obrigado means thank you. Does it? Yes. To a man. Obrigada means thank you to a woman. I think. Yeah.
I don't know that. I'll go with you on that one. Yeah, so if they sailed as far south as modern day Turkey through the river system, just raiding and rampaging around all
river raiding.
Yeah. And a tribe of transplants from Scandinavia who made their way east and south, known as the Rus, would be the people who would found Russia.
Yep.
And be sort of like one of the foundations for all the people of Slavic ethnicity.
Who may in turn, the Russians may in turn control America, which in turns means that America's founded by Viking folk.
Yes.
The Rus.
Vikings control the world. They run the banks. They run the entertainment industry. Looking at you, Stellan Skarsgård.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, guy from True Blood, whatever your name is. We're on to you.
They run NASA. They built the Denver airport. Freaking weather control. LARP, whatever it's called.
DARPA. HARP.
Viking owned. Check it out. Check your source. Check our sources.
Yeah, I heard they're allied with the secret reptile people who live under the earth.
Justin Bieber's Viking.
Viking reptile.
Yep. So, Richard Branson, Viking. He's got blonde hair. Look at him. Take a good look at Richard Branson. Is that his name? Branson?
Richard Branson from Virgin Airlines?
Yeah. Viking.
Yeah. The Rothschilds, all Vikings.
Mm-hmm. We see you. Fucking Viking bullshit.
So did you have you want us to get to this Norse mythology episode pretty quick, or you want us to cover Roman or Greek or Zoroastrian or any of that shit?
Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, tweet at us which ones you'd like to hear first, and maybe we'll get to them right away.
Yeah. Put the power in your hands as listeners. Thank you for listening to us.
And of course, you can tweet to us at Dinner in Hell Pod. You can tweet to us at Dinner in Hell Pod. You can email us at dinnerinhellpodcast@gmail.com. You can go to dinnerinhell.com. We're on there.
You can go to dinner with me.
I would love to. It'd be a pleasant. In case anybody's wondering, we get along well. We can have a conversation.
If you own a restaurant and you would like us to record an episode in your restaurant, all we in turn would like is whatever we want from the kitchen.
Yeah, we promise
And
we'll control the crowd.
We will mention your show, your restaurant the whole time. While we perform our art.
Yeah. For just our dinner.
Yeah, we just want to like whatever we want. Endless. Let's say you own Hopcat and we want endless crack fries. Something like that.
Yeah, we'll do it. If you're lucky. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher. So please rate and review us on all of those platforms. And obrigado for listening to Dinner in Hell. Also, obrigada.
Thank you, Brad.
Good night.